All right, Cosatu and its affiliate, the Communication Workers Union, is briefing the media on the way forward regarding developments at the SABC. They are currently holding a joint media briefing at Cosatu House in Johannesburg. The labour unions have spoken out against the Section 189 retrenchments that will affect 400 permanent staff at the public broadcaster. Let's take you there now live.
In the next meeting, initially SABC indicated that in their corporate plan, it wanted in the year 2020-2021 a workforce to be 3,050 so that it could keep on the operation in a sound and operational state. After we had demonstrated that due to natural attrition, their workforce actually stands just below 3,000 mark, they then abandoned that plan. They then introduced a new plan that was set to meant to be realigning the public broadcaster with the modern broadcasting standards. It then presented a fabricated research that showed their counterparts multi-choice, having more channels than SABC, but employing lesser staff. That was exposed to be untrue, since multi-choice staff is 2 times bigger than SABC and has lesser channels than SABC. Yet the rest of the channels comes from a number of private companies. On the 16th of October 2020, after presenting their new corporate plan, and that could not respond to when there were questions posed by Labour, the company decided to walk out of the meeting. They then demanded that we send alternatives and above the proposal that we have already made. The organized labor at SABC, namely CWU and BMAO, complied with that demand and submitted alternatives. In a heated debate with workers, the COO of SABC, Ian Plachi, told workers that union failed them because they did not give alternatives. However, in their answering affidavit to the urgent court interdict, SABC said, I quote, "I confirm that I have received the applicant's written representations on the 27th of October 2020. These presentations are substantially and being in excess of 120 pages, close quote. In the nutshell, this question every grain of his integrity. The holier-than-thou management that represent neoliberalism is not different from all previous regimes at SABC, and probably is the most brutal. In the latest Joe Hlaule Commission, made significant funding, amongst others, is that workers who were dismissed by the previous regime be reinstated. Today, that has not been implemented because it's not in the interest of business. The SABC management has been costing the public broadcaster millions of rands on legal matters where frivolous cases are taken to court and to benefit the legal firms that appear to have evergreen contracts with the SOE. Furthermore, the new corporate plan is now introduced is costly for SABC. And contrary to what has been cited in public, the corporate plan is going to destroy the capacity of the SOE to have its own in-house content. They are dismissing everyone in the production line, such as producers, investigating journalists, and field reporters, which all companies comprise in the public broadcaster mandate. After the structural erosion, the SABC will have to rely on the private sector to provide content. This means that they will only buy content that is financially viable. This means that SABC is now officially abandoning its core mandate as a public broadcaster. In the heart of their corporate plan, marginalized indigenous languages. In the TV news, the following current affairs have been done away with. The Zwami Ramani, which is a vendor, the Ngula Yatibi, which is Songa, and the reasons that are purely based on commercial reasons. And this is a serious reversal of all the gains made during a political breakthrough in 1994. This move is not in the interest of building a nation that is living in harmony, united in diversity, as the current affairs dictates. We have current affairs show that are still maintained focus of Africans with the same staff, cutting edge in Nguni with the same staff, special assignment in English. They have been kept on air in terms of the new structure. It is important to indicate that this structure was never presented to the Commissioner at CCMA during Section 189 processes. This is another procedural flaw by law. They are now removing the Sound Desk Division that is responsible for monitoring current affairs for TV and radio and foreign agencies such as BBC. On the commercial desk stations such as Radio Metro, 5FM, Good Hope will not broadcast news anymore. These are fundamental deviations from the public broadcaster's mandate that are costly both structurally and legally. Proves that SABC is heading towards a state of paralysis. There is absolutely no reason to keep this management and the board at the helm. In our view, some of the board members have turned the SABC to be their own financial milking cow, using ridiculous board fees as a supplement to their salaries, hiding behind the board retainer fees and various claims that they are making, in particular Bongimo Samakatini. The public broadcaster's intention is to retrench 400 workers, claiming that they need to restructure the organization in order to guarantee its sustainability. This is said to pull a wool on our eyes as a public. The bigger scam is to empower the private sector through outsourcing core business of SABC. In their financial annual report, they make remarks that demonstrate their poor management and incapacity. They cite things such as excess use of leave days and sick leave as part of the wasteful expenditure. This shows that they do not have the competence of HR. Any company that experiences such knows that there are guidelines in the Act that assist employers to deal with that situation. After the SABC and Telkom launched the Telkom One, it was not surprising to see SABC applying Sipho Masego's vicious strategy on starving the SOE and workers to benefit the board and the executive. The cutting of salary, freezing of salaries, introducing of non-negotiable VSP and VERSPs is a vicious strategy of Sipho Masego that led CWU and Cosatu in Telkom to take the company to another court battle for non-ending retrenchments at that SOE. Yet the CEO pockets millions of rent through selling their shares almost every second year. We therefore demand that SABC retract all the letters of dismissals that have been issued to workers since the beginning of this week. We demand that SABC abandon its retrenchments plan with immediate effect. Failure to respond positively to this demand by 5 p.m. today, CWU will embark on an industrial action starting on Friday this week, the 20th of November, 2020. We call on all workers to tools down and bring SABC to a complete state of blackout by 1 p.m. on the set date. We'll be on the picketing lines in all SABC outlets, where we'll also be handing a memorandum of demands to the SABC management. In Auckland Park, it will be our national program, where we'll be calling on the group CEO and the board chairperson to come and collect our memorandum of demands. Our action of shutdown will continue into the following week, and we'll review our action and the impact in the next week, provided that the management is not responding. And on Wednesday, the 25th of November, 2020, we'll also inform the public of our second phase of action. That will also include the likes of your secondary strike. Furthermore, because we are concerned about the stability of SABC, we call for disbandment of the board and for the public broadcaster to be placed under administration. This brings us to the end of the press statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you to General Secretary. I will allow Cosatu present, or will take his response during question and answer session. Okay, let's identify our colleagues to pose questions. Just identify your media house and then pose your question eloquently. You are identified, your name and surname and the media house.
Thank you, sir. Graham Robenheimer, ETV News and Sport. Aubrey, perhaps a question for you. What's the engagement been like with the SABC now, this week? Do you guys have any sort of talks, impromptu or else? And do they know of your threat before this announcement today? And then secondly, just a point of clarification, how many SABC staff is represented by your union, how many of the members, just so we can get sort of clarity on that mark as well, please. Thank you so much.
Okay, second question. Kaya.
Hi, good morning. It's Kylie here from EMCA. So, just to get a clarity once again from you, sir. So you say if there is no response by 5 p.m., the industrial action will continue. Just in terms of, emphasizing that point, and obviously we know that there's always been an issue of saying whether is the retrenchment the last resort, but of course the board has been at pains to say that's the case, but of course the division as well within the board where you have those who are saying don't go ahead. So what do you make of that? And maybe just the call that you're making for the disbandment of the board. So on what basis are you making that call? Do you think they will perhaps heed the call to step aside? Thank you.
Can you identify yourself? Third person? Yes, identify yourself.
Afternoon, it's Wisani Makubele, SABC Radio News. Some are saying it's already late because the letters are already out. And looking at the tone of management and the board throughout this week, and having met with them again today to discuss how the strike is going to proceed, do you realistically believe they can make a U-turn and stop the retrenchments? Thank you.
Okay. To allow the leadership of crew to make a response, and Cosatu President also will make an input.
Who starts?
Okay.
No, thanks, and I'll try and respond to one or two questions, and then obviously I'll hand over to the others to respond, the GS and the Cosatu President. I think we have outlined the engagements with SABC, and I think one of the things, if you look in our statement, we also raise an issue of some dishonesty. And I think the GS then outlined that when we had an engagement with the SABC in June, and in our engagement with SABC, one of the things they raised is that we'll have a follow-up meeting to make sure that our input becomes more, we raise more issues of our input. Unfortunately, instead of a follow-up meeting, we were served with a papers of the CCMA. And as we speak now, there are no engagements at all with the SABC. In actual fact, it is not the threat we have announced. We have said that if they don't withdraw the letters by today, definitely we will go on a strike action. Any trade union movement agrees that retrenchment should be the last resort. And we strongly believe that with our inputs we have given the SABC, it really avoids retrenchments. If you have listened to the minister and the deputy minister in the replies, they even requested the SABC not to continue with retrenchments. But this board have become a board, a law unto themselves. A board who doesn't listen to the shareholder, a board who doesn't care. And strongly we believe that this board is now time for them to exit, because It is a board which is dishonest, it can't engage. What is even worse, when the chairperson of the board was speaking on radio, prior him speaking, there was a deputy chairperson speaking. And the deputy chairperson says, no, as far as we are concerned, we are against retrenchments. If you have now listened to the recent events, 5 board members are in disagreement on retrenchments. It means that this is a board which is divided, it's a board who can't agree. And as far as we are concerned, our call for the board to be dissolved is very clear. And our call for the board for SABC to be put under administration is very clear, because even today, they can't even account, GS, for the 3.5 billion rand they got from government. I think I just wanted to raise those particular issues in terms of how I want to respond to some of the questions.
We'll allow Cosatu President to...
Thank you very much, Nome. Well, indeed, Cosatu is here to give support to our affiliate, Communication Workers Union. And of course, we have been in the picket lines before with Communication Workers Union and Bemausa. And we have seen the developments, and others have always asked, where is the federation? We have a union, and that's why we give and allow that union to lead in the space that it is organizing. But Cosatu is always with the union itself. But we want to raise a few issues that we think and believe that the SABC management seem not to understand the mandate of the broadcaster, of the public broadcaster, of a developmental mandate. And by their action, to us it is clear that what they are going to do is to outsource, as CW says, their responsibility to a private sector to run the affairs of the SABC. 2, it has never been workers at the bottom who have taken decisions that led to a crisis that exists in all SOEs. In all SOEs. And the question is, in the state-owned entities, there are always companies that are in competition with those of the state in the same sector. But none of those companies are experiencing the challenges that state-owned entities are experiencing. So what is the issue, and why are we not dealing with the issue and always find it easy that if you are to address the weaknesses of management and the bad decisions that management have been making, the easiest thing to do is to start dealing with workers. And we're saying we cannot allow it anymore. The current statistics that have just been released of unemployment in our country, they have risen by 7.5%. We're now sitting at 30.8%. And if you take expanded definition, we're sitting at over 50% of unemployment in this country. And if SABC is going to retrench 400 workers, it is not just a worker at SABC, it is a worker and the family that they are supporting. But with the mandate of SABC, we think this is a bad decision that SABC wants to embark on. Secondly, you see, it is correct what a member of CWU, Griselda, was saying in the meeting that they were having, that that we were able to be privy of with management. That journalists have risked their lives. They have been part of essential workers in this country. Government has a tendency, because SOE falls under government entities. There's a tendency of appreciating the role that essential workers are playing in this country, particularly during this time of COVID-19. That they are able to risk their lives. We have lost a number of journalists who carried cameras and went into very risky areas, contracted COVID-19. Others, they risked bullets in Cape Flats and anywhere else where violence is rife. bringing news to ourselves as the public in this country. And the first ones that must feel the bad decisions that are taken by management is the very same workers. When management sits in air-conditioned boardrooms, deal with papers and not the actual events that are taking place in our country. Members of the board, that their mandate is to attend board meetings and get paid for sitting in a meeting, whether you understand the responsibility that you have. Whoever's on the commission, where we have heard how SAA has been where it is. It happened for years. Board members were there. Educated individuals that were meant to make sure that they understand their mandate and the mandate of the state-owned entity that they are responsible for. Today, where are the workers at SAA? Where is SAA today? And we feel as a federation that this is why Cosatu has always made a call that we need to really look into the whole state-owned entities that we have, not one by one. But people need to take responsibility. Management needs to take responsibility. Political leaders that are given a responsibility to workers cannot be the first one to leave when they do not sit and take such bad decisions. So we support Communication Workers Union here, and we strongly believe that it is premature, and we don't want to get involved with the decisions that were made by others. That's why we're saying management sort the issues, but workers cannot be the one. And we want to see management, Comrade Aubrey, that are going to raise their hands and say, to save workers at SABC, I'm prepared to take a slash in my salary and the benefits, because I understand the responsibility that I have towards the public broadcast. I understand the responsibility that I have towards those that I lead. And until South Africa makes people to account for the decisions that they have made, workers will continue to suffer. People move and hop from one entity to another, make bad decisions, hop and move to another entity, make decisions, make bad decisions, and leave workers to be the end to be the end results that are going to be suffering. And we cannot sit back anymore. And we are calling on all workers, not only in the SOEs, even in the private sector, to really stand up and say enough is enough. We have suffered too much. We do not make these bad decisions, and therefore we cannot be held to account for them by us being retrenched and endure more suffering with our families. Thank you very much, Nopa.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Lukwala.
There was a question of presentation, that how many members CW has at SABC. We have 900, over 900, and growing now recently. So it can be more. The very important point that we should make emphasis on, you should look at the people that are criticizing us for saying that retrenchment should not proceed. If journalists can take a look, who are those people? Is production companies. Production companies are the ones who are going to benefit, because they are the people that are going now to sell content to SABC. And would not be surprised if they are friends of the board members. It's a javelin throwing, where you take a business into a private sector, and then at the back of the door, you receive your share. This is how SOEs are being destroyed from time to time. Now the question is, are we late? We have to address it in two forms. Firstly, we are a trade union movement that observe and respect the laws of the country. The laws dictate that we have to exhaust the process of Section 189. Then we are given one opportunities out of two, whether to take your dispute to labor court As our friends, PEMAU, the trade union, has utilized that strategy, which we support, we have taken a decision to go on the streets. Those who might say that the management have decided and it might not reverse that decision, then you don't know the power of workers. You actually don't know the power of CWU. McCartney must test us. Will run SABC unmanageable. Will make sure that there will be nothing going on air. The management of SABC, the board and the parliament will listen to us, whether they like it or not. Hence, we are saying, by Wednesday, if there's no positive results, we'll be looking at the second phase of the struggle. We are not saying we are retreating. We'll be using every arsenal we have to attack. It's very important to say we are defending the gains of 1994. Our people now have been marginalized. Songa, Venda, Siswati, Ndebele. They are saying these are languages that are not commercial viable. Where have we had that? Whilst we're still fighting that the Khoisan San president must be included in the broader things in terms of broadcasting, they are now eliminating those who have 1 feet, not even because those current affairs, even they don't even occupy the whole week as compared to English and African. So those who had 1 feet inside, they are eliminating them. So it shows you that SABC must not only be defended by workers because there's retrenchment, but by community at large. That's why we are welcoming so much support. And Cosatu president is not supporting Cosatu, it's us. So there is a various support that we are receiving from various federations, which we welcome, from our Communist Party, from the ANC and so forth. So we'll make sure that we bring everything to a standstill in defense of the SOE against the petty bourgeois that are beginning to capture the corporate SABC. Thanks.
Can we identify another person to ask a
They are
question?
fine now.
If not, okay, I see a hand. Identify yourself, media house, and pose your question.
My name is Silvio from Independent. One of the complaints that would have been made by the management and the board of the SABC is the issue of the level funding of the funding of the SABC. Obviously, some of that is based on government or through the shareholder. To what extent do you blame government for that level funding of that mandate, which tremendous that would be? Which will actually be a major contributor when they talk about the cost driver, which the wage bill being the biggest one. To what extent do you place such responsibility in terms of actually getting to a point where the SABC is saying where the properly funded public service mandate that does not necessarily come to a point where the SABC management now has to slash jobs in order to deal with its financial challenges?
Okay. Can we identify another person? We will allow leadership to respond. Leadership.
Is that the only?
Yes. Yeah. It might be the last round. We don't see any other hand. Leadership engage with the media.
No, thanks for that question. We have once raised this matter.
And so we come out of that